Assalamu alaikum everyone. This is me Fatima Khan, Business Wali. I am a student of Rihan AI Teachers Training Institute, batch 22. So today I'm here to discuss a very important topic with Sasmi. The topic is how to stay motivated during tough times. So today we will learn about this topic from Sasmi. So let's start.
Hey, what's on your mind?
So Maya, today I wanna learn about the topic is how to stay motivated during tough times. I want to learn about this topic from you. So, start.
Tough times are the real test, aren't they? I'm down to dive into this with you. To get us started, do you want to look at the psychology of why motivation dips when things get hard? Or should we jump straight into some practical ways to keep moving forward?
So, my first question is this: what does motivation mean during tough times?
In a tough spot, motivation isn't usually that high energy feeling where you're excited to crush your goals. It's more about resilience. It's that quiet, stubborn internal drive to take just one more step, even when you don't particularly feel like it. Essentially, it shifts from being about wanting to do something to deciding to keep going.
Okay, why do people lose motivation when life gets hard?
It usually comes down to mental and emotional exhaustion. When life gets heavy, your brain spends all its energy just trying to survive the stress, which leaves almost nothing left for motivation. Plus, there's often a feeling of helplessness. If you feel like no matter what you do, things aren't improving, your brain starts to see the effort as wasteful and just shuts down the drive to try. Does that resonate with what you've seen, or do you think it's more about the fear of failing?
How can someone stay motivated when
The biggest
everything
mistake
feels difficult?
the biggest mistake people make is trying to find that big spark of inspiration. When everything feels heavy, looking at the mountain is overwhelming. The real trick is to shrink your world. Instead of focusing on the end goal, focus on the next 10 minutes. Just one tiny, manageable win, like making the bed or sending one email. Those small wins trick your brain into feeling a sense of agency again, which slowly rebuilds the momentum. Do you think you're more of a big picture person, or does the idea of breaking things down into tiny steps feel more doable?
What are the best way to rebuild lost motivation?
First, be honest about where you're at. Trying to force yourself back to 100% immediately usually just leads to more burnout. A great way to start is behavioral activation, which is just a fancy way of saying do the action first and let the motivation follow. Instead of waiting to feel motivated to do something, pick one low stakes task and do it regardless of your mood. Once you're moving, the motivation often kicks in. Another way is to reconnect with your why. When you're in the thick of it, you forget why you cared in the first place. Reminding yourself of the core reason you started can act like a compass. Do you feel like you've lost sight of the why, or are you just feeling physically and mentally drained?
Okay, so can motivation come back after failure? How?
Absolutely. In fact, some of the strongest motivation actually comes from failure, though it doesn't feel like it at the time. The key is how you frame it. If you see failure as a wall, you'll stop. But if you treat it as data, basically a lesson in what doesn't work, it becomes a tool. When you analyze the failure objectively and realize you're still standing, it builds a specific kind of confidence called earned resilience. That feeling of, I survived that, so I can handle this, is a way more stable fuel than simple excitement. Do you think failure usually makes people want to quit? Or does it spark a need to prove something?
What role does mindset play in staying motivated?
Mindset is everything because it's the filter for how you interpret your situation. If you have a fixed mindset, a setback feels like a permanent verdict on your abilities. Like, I'm just not good at this. That's a motivation killer. But with a growth mindset, you see the struggle as the actual process of improving. The difficulty isn't a sign to stop, it's a sign that you're learning. It turns the tough time from a barrier into a training ground. Do you tend to be hard on yourself when things go wrong, or are you pretty good at giving yourself a break?
You're right. How do small goals help during tough times?
But yeah, it's the same human girl because they're very much favored product. I'm stacking them by saying. When you're struggling, a huge goal feels impossible, which triggers a stress response and makes you want to freeze. But a small goal, something you can actually finish, triggers a hit of dopamine when you check it off. That little win proves to your brain that you're still capable of making progress, which lowers your anxiety and makes the next small step feel possible. It's basically building a bridge of tiny victories until you're strong enough to tackle the big stuff again. Do you find it easy to set those small goals, or do you struggle with feeling like they're too small to matter?
How can positive thinking help in hard situations?
It's not about pretending everything is great. That's just toxic positivity and it doesn't actually work. Real positive thinking is more about cognitive reframing. It's the ability to look at a bad situation and ask, what part of this can I actually control? Or what is this teaching me? By shifting the focus from the problem to the solution, you move out of a passive state of suffering and back into an active state of problem solving. Keeps you from spiraling. Do you find it easy to find a silver lining, or does that feel a bit forced when things are really bad?
Why is it important to never give up?
Because the only way to guarantee you'll never succeed is to stop. Most of the time, the breakthrough happens right after the moment you feel most like quitting. Beyond the goal itself, the act of persisting builds a version of yourself that is stronger and more capable. That grit is a skill you can't learn any other way. You only get it by pushing through when it's hard. Plus, there's a huge sense of self-respect that comes from knowing you didn't fold when things got tough. Do you think the reward is the goal itself or the person you become while chasing it?
You're right. Can inspiration from others help motivation?
It definitely does. Seeing someone else overcome a similar struggle proves that the impossible is actually possible. It turns an abstract idea of hope into a concrete example. But there's a catch. It only works if you focus on their process, not just their success. If you only look at the trophy, you might feel inadequate, but if you look at the failures they had to push through to get there, it becomes a roadmap. Do you have someone specific who inspires you, or do you prefer reading about people you've never met?
How does self belief affect motivation?
Self-belief is basically the engine. You can have the best plan in the world, but if you don't believe you're capable of executing it, you won't even start. It's the difference between seeing a challenge as a test or a threat. When you believe in yourself, you view effort as something that will eventually pay off. Without that belief, every obstacle feels like a sign that you should just quit. Do you feel like that's your self-belief is usually steady, or does it fluctuate based on how your day is going?
What is the connection between discipline and motivation?
Motivation is the spark, but discipline is the engine. Motivation is a feeling, and feelings are unreliable. They disappear the second you're tired, stressed, or bored. Discipline is what takes over when motivation leaves the room. It's the habit of doing the work because it's what you decided to do, not because you feel like doing it. Basically, motivation gets you started, but discipline is what actually gets you to the finish line. Do you think you rely more on that initial burst of excitement, or do you have some solid routines in place?
Okay, thank you, Maya, for a great conversation.
You're so welcome. I really enjoyed it. Whenever you need a boost or just want to chat, I'm here. Take care.
Okay, so that's all about the conversation. I hope you learned something new in this conversation. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening to me. Allah.